I'm taking that out on everyone, you know. So it's not even sometimes just being aware of what our partner is feeling. It's, you know, we have to, how you say, read the whole room, because and you're included in that room too. So
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point, you realized you were married into crazy.
And that's what our podcast is all about. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as we unpack this crazy thing called marriage.
So sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
All right, let's go.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy E.T. Look, if you're looking to, or you got to raise the bar on your marriage, you gotta click the link and get into Married into Crazy, y'all. I'm telling you, this coaching is gonna take your relationship to another level. Now look, you already know you need to raise the bar. You know that already. So stop thinking or overthinking. Click that link, and Marriage into Crazy is gonna take you and your spouse to marital bliss. Now you know. Click the button. Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
And we want to thank each and every one of you for coming back once again. As you know, or maybe some of you are new and don't know, we are a married couple that have been together for 26 years, married for 25 plus, and we've been through some stuff. There's been some things that we've experienced even before the marriage. We got engaged after meeting on a blind date.
It wasn't a date.
It wasn't a blind date.
It wasn't a blind date. Here's my thing. I always feel like if you're going to tell a story, you should probably tell it right? Give the right information.
There's her version, his version, and the truth always lies somewhere closer to his version than her version.
Wow. Okay.
You know, so it's a version that we're about to actually share. But bottom line is, we were forced to meet each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then she had an estranged ex-boyfriend that was just crazy. And he attacked her, stabbed me when I was protecting her, had 2 open heart surgeries. And there were a lot of things that transpired. We had people that tried to boycott our wedding because of some shenanigans that had taken place on my side of the family.
I'm like, just tell the truth. But go ahead. Sorry.
On my side.
Mm-hmm.
But then on top of that, we went through some stuff, and then 4 years later, she asked for a divorce, and we had to battle our way back from that. And to be honest with you, without a lot of prayer and God involved, we wouldn't be where we are right now, and a lot of humility.
Yeah, I'd say that. We had to change a lot of things.
A lot.
There were some things that needed to change. Prefer him? No,
me. So, she's not wrong. She ain't lying. I'm telling you right now.
Playing. I mean, the fault doesn't just fall on one person. You know, I think a lot of times that unless that person is really doing something hurtful on purpose, you know, there are certain things that you do and you may not be aware of, or you're aware of them, that you're doing them, but you're not aware of the hurt or the harm that it causes the other person, maybe because you don't know any better, you know? So I feel like that was one thing with our relationship. When we talk about how, okay, so let me back up some. So we're married. Our parents were married more than once. They were married to other people. His father was married 4 times. His mother was married 3 times. My father was married 3 times. My mom was married twice. So there are things that, you know.
So wait. So 3, 2, that's 5, 9.
Then, wait,
so between the 2 of
12.
us,
There's 12 marriages.
we got 12. We got 12 sets of parents, so to speak.
Well, I mean, technically, you could say that. No, not 12, because we're counting our parents like
so 10
multiple times.
Okay, so
no, not even 10. I think
something like that. Anyway, there's basically 12 different relationships that we had to deal with. But we take all of that and we meter it, and we bring that, kind of boil it all down to how we actually were able to survive and thrive after we reach that divorce point. And that's what crazy is all about. And that's what we talk about on this podcast is some of the different points. Crazy stands for an acronym, which is
Compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding. So,
and so from our coaching platform, that's what we teach upon, as well as we color in some Gottman methods because we're both Gottman level 1 and 2 certified when it comes to the Gottman couples therapy. And then we're also extreme execution coaches, been trained directly by Dr. Eric Thomas. For those of you that know him as E.T. the hip hop preacher. So we work directly with E.T. We get a lot of teachings directly from the Gottman series. So we've got a blend of clinical and experiential that we share with you here on this podcast. And then personally, when it comes to our coaching, we're working with couples and individuals.
So how would they find us?
So the easiest way for you to actually find us is going to be at mariedintocrazy.com. Everything that we do, almost everything that we do,
Not everything.
is listed right there on mariedintocrazy.com. But the easiest way to actually move forward with us is to go there, scroll down to the coaching, and select a time on the calendar to actually reach out to us. And we can chop it up for free for about 15, 20 minutes, just talking and just seeing if we're a good fit. And we also do a lot of communication coaching when it comes to utilizing the DISC assessment. We've got a phenomenal self-awareness tool that we use in every one of our sessions for the most part in some form. And we can make that available to you as well. But go ahead and book us and we will actually tell you how you can get a hold of that as well. So that's the main spot. And of course, listen to us on Spotify and Apple and any venue that you're looking at. But be sure to leave a comment and a rating. Put 5 on it.
There you go.
So it's funny. So I mentioned Dr. Thomas, right? E.T. So
that's funny that you mentioned him.
well, it's funny because I kind of want to go in that direction. There was something he said most recently at the 120 conference that I attended over in Chicago. So he was up there and we had a host of different speakers. One of the things that really hit me was
when E was talking.
Did I say that?
E was up there, like,
Anyway.
It's just funny. I like to tease Lovey about E.T.
Well, he's my mentor, so I give him a shout out here and there.
It's cute. Go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway. Now I'm making me all look. So it was either him or somebody. I can't remember if it was E.T. that actually said it. But the topic was about getting out of your comfort zone. And technically, it wasn't even truly about getting out of your comfort zone. It was about addressing how we respond to pain in our lives.
Well, okay, so funny part about that though is I think a lot of people, when you talk about how you respond to pain, a lot of times that keeps us in our comfort zone. So it is a connection, for myself, I'll just say the way I respond to pain, well, I guess it just depends on what it is too, but the knowledge that something that I have to do is going to cause me pain, that will keep me not doing it. I'm just going to stay stuck. I'm going to stay right here. And that's going to be that. But the painful part comes from when I see maybe other people doing what it is that I want to do, but I know that they took the necessary steps to do it. That's painful for me because I'm like, dang, I could really do it. But we all, how I am, I get shell shocked a lot of times when I feel like, oh my God, there's so much to do. So
all the steps. And that's one of the beauties of the DISC assessment because we balance each other. Because I'm that person, I'm like, let's just jump out the plane.
Yeah.
Ooh, on the way down. Ooh, do we have parachutes?
Yeah. So I don't mean to cut you off, but it can be a battle with us at times because just like he said, he'll jump and then be like, oh, did we get the the parachutes? I'm still in the plane. Like you forgot your parachute,
I'm like, just jump, bring it to me. And she don't want to do that, right? And so, but there's that balance, right? But when we're talking about that pain, it's funny that you say that, that comfort zone. We stay in the comfort zone more often than not because we don't want to experience the pain of getting out of the comfort zone, doing the unfamiliar. But that pain, look, you're going to experience pain regardless. There's 2 types of pain. You're going to get the pain that's going to be stuck with you because you're not able to grow because you're in your comfort zone. So there's a pain involved with staying exactly where you're at and not going for the growth. And then there's also going to be pain involved when you get out of your comfort zone. That pain is doing something new, something unfamiliar, and there's the pain of not being the resident expert or really knowing what
Mm,
the next step is going to be,
mhm.
but you're stepping out on faith. The only difference is only one of those pains, only one of those paths of pain lead to growth and fulfillment. And it's rarely ever found, almost never staying right where you're at in this comfort zone because life is about growth.
Yeah, when you said that, you said leads to only one of those paths leads to growth. Only one of those paths will also keep you in pain because if you continue to not do what it is that you may have been called to do or what you really want to do, go after your dream, not doing it every day that you push it aside or every day that you don't do it, that is going to cause you some pain. I mean, if we're being honest, some people be like, "Oh, I don't care." No, you do care. You may not voice it, you may not say it, but there are going to be some triggering that happens. When you come across certain things, it's like, ugh, it's like a gut punch. That's
No,
what I think.
it's
That's not
true.
my
And
opinion.
I know some folks out there right now are like sweating, like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know. Do I want to do this? You start sweating bullets because you're starting to think about all the change that might be necessary,
Mhm.
but the payoff is immense. So if you're sweating, we're going to talk about how you can actually adjust that thermostat. Because I think that when you're talking about getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of certain pain, or getting on a particular path, there's such a thing as a negativity thermostat that you can use to gauge where you need to be in your relationship. And if you truly think about it, there's a hot and a cold in every single relationship out there, including ours. There's longitudinal research, right, on newlywed couples.
We have
The Gottman Institute, what?
we have cold in our relationship.
Oh, you know we
This
got
is
cold.
news to me.
Mm,
Y'all heard it here first. Lovey is cold. No, I'm playing. Go ahead. I'm just joking.
she's Mrs.
Heat miser.
I'm
I'm heat miser.
nah.
Sometimes I'm keep it real. Sometimes.
Well, look, longitudinal research from, and this is from the Gottman Institute, showed
Mm.
that there's when they looked at newlywed couples, they discovered that stable and happy couples, right, are more responsive to slight changes in negativity than ailing marriages or relationships. The reason why I bring that up is because we're talking about getting out of a comfort zone. Sometimes the comfort zone isn't necessarily the feel good zone. Sometimes we put up with negativity and a negative situation simply because it's familiar, but it's that comfort zone. This is what I know. I know if I stay here, he'll blow over and things will get better again. Or she'll stop complaining and we'll get back to our norm.
Mm.
And that's a zone that's not necessarily a positive one that you need to stay in, though it is comfortable.
That's very funny that you say that because and that makes me think about certain couples. I'll just speak for in my family. A lot of married couples. My family they have longitude, I guess, in their relationships, in their marriages. They've been married for some have been married for many years, but a lot of it has to do with that comfort level. Um is not necessarily the greatest. We've seen some stuff happen, but they felt comfortable because God forbid, what if I tell them I don't like when you do blah blah blah? What are going to be the repercussions of me saying or changing and doing something that's different? We may stay married. They may stay married for a long time, but are they happy in their relationship? Are they growing? I should say growing together.
No,
So
and
that just made me think about that.
no, and it's real. I think there's I don't say I think I know for a fact there's a lot of relationships out there that connection thermostat is a little broken because it's what it's supposed to do is signal you, right? It's supposed to let you know how your relationship is doing. Ideally, you want to find a balance between that hot and cold. Let's say that from a relationship standpoint, the best place, and it's going to vary from couple to couple, you have to discuss it, is to have like somewhere between, like I know if our relationship gets hotter than, let's say, 78, it's going to be, a little too hot. Things are going to get uncomfortable to where something's out of whack. If our relationship gets too cold, meaning less than like 68 degrees, 67 degrees, then it's out of balance. And the sweet spot is for us to actually find that zone, right? That between the 68 and the 78, somewhere in there, and operate within that range. Now, I'm not calling that a comfort zone. What I'm calling that is a zone of communication, a zone of us checking in, making sure that each other's okay, understanding that, and it might be uncomfortableness that's in there. That means that we're having difficult conversations, but those difficult conversations within that buffer, if you will allow you to actually make sure that the relationship doesn't go to the extreme in one direction or the other. It's like a house. The thermostat in a house is bound to change from time to time based on what's happening on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
You've got, and again, the outside could be bills, children, in-laws, job, political climate. There could be so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, not far from us, there's a serial killer on the loose. There's things out there that it might drive you to make different decisions about what you do, and there's so many external factors, just like your house, because it's hot or cold outside. It's winter. It's the summer. We just broke records with 118 degree, 117 degree weather.
Yeah, the day that our air conditioner stopped working. So.
Right. That outside factor affected our inside factor. Yeah, it did. But the more sensitive you are to those emotional temperature changes, and we work together in that buffer zone, the better off we're going to be able to really secure our relationship and stay connected and really cherish each other.
Well, I feel like that's being aware also. Sometimes people are oblivious to all the, I won't say you're oblivious to the outside factors, but they're oblivious to when the temperature starts to change, for their partner. They're just like, whatever. They kind of blow them off or don't even acknowledge that there are things that are going on. And I think when that happens too, that's when the other partner, the thermostat could start moving and going up. Like, are you not paying attention? You know what I'm saying?
Well, and what happens in those situations is we both become the thermometers and not the thermostat that's setting. We have to be intentional as a couple to truly be the thermostat. Remember, folks, the thermostat sets the temperature, is the governor. It controls what the temperature is. And you can have, a variety of different settings that you agree upon. The moment we become the thermometer, we're just reacting, right? So when I'm cold, I preoccupy myself with work, with coaching volleyball, with Married into Crazy, all the different things that we're doing, coaching plans, making sure that we're booking our guests, following up on like we were on that television show the other day, just all these different things. I'm so focused on that stuff that obviously I'm cold, but I'm not attentive. I'm no longer there for your needs. Like, hey, I want to talk to you. Or even now that we have Isaiah with us, Isaiah walks in, Papa, Papa, Papa. Hold on. I keep pushing him off. Well, I'm cold. The temperature is extremely cold. No, Isaiah's throwing a fit. You're mad because Isaiah's throwing a fit. And then couple that with the fact that I wasn't there to listen to you when you wanted to talk to me about something earlier.
Then that would shift me into, so you're cold, then I go hot. I'm
volcanic.
Okay. But if I'm not being aware, or if I'm not paying attention to, even not just to you, but to myself, when I'm like, okay, I'm feeling it, it's coming, I could be critical, I could be defensive, overly defensive, I could just be angry or get upset, and then I'm taking that out on everyone, so it's not even sometimes just being aware of what our partner is feeling. It's, we have to, how you say, read the whole room, because and you're included in that room too, so you got to check yourself also.
Ooh, I like that. And how do you do that? There's two ways. And again, this is going to be a plug going back to, if you go back to marital.crazy.com, or if you go directly to raisethebarmarriage.com, there's a tutorial there, right? There's a video series, 18 video series that will help you walk through these particular points to make sure that you get better at adapting, right? You adapt and understand yourself, because first you have to become aware, then that you have the ability to become adaptive, not reactive, but adaptive, to understand, like you said, reading the room, understanding your audience, knowing where you stand in that audience as well. So that'll help you. But the other thing you can do is actually take the DISC assessment. So we do a marriage self-awareness assessment, and it is a DISC assessment that we're both trained on. And by doing that, you learn yourself that much better. You learn your preferences, your tendencies, you learn the range when it comes to your natural way that you respond to things, and your adaptive, and that range and how you respond in certain situations based on the stimuli that's affecting you. And learning that, you respond better, you recognize yourself, and you read the room better. And then if you and your spouse both take it and you have that understanding, then you have a much deeper understanding of, oh, perhaps that's why she does the things that she does. Now I have a better understanding. If I approach her like this, then I can probably expect that she's going to come at me like that.
Or it gives you an understanding of, so they're not doing that to get on my nerve, or they're not doing that certain thing that bothers you on purpose. Because let's just be honest, sometimes when something irritates you and you're like, I already said I do not like that, and they keep doing it, they're just trying to get on my nerve, because immediately it's always about us and how we feel, but everything's not about us. But like Lovey said, it will give you an understanding of, oh, okay, he's not trying to be hurtful.
Right. Listen, how would you love to have a printout of do's and don'ts when it comes to the conversation piece? Like, how do I communicate with my spouse? How should I not communicate with my
What's
spouse?
the best way?
Right. And this self-awareness tool, our DISC assessment, will do that for you. Actually, it's page 16. You get a 19-page printout, and it actually tells you do's and don'ts based on your responses. This is what I definitely should not do when I'm trying to get her attention and communicate with her. But here's a list of things that I should do, and they're extremely accurate.
Well, and what I was just going to say too is I think a lot of times we feel like I got them, so I know how to talk to them, and I know, the best way to whatever. But seasons also change, at that point. Yeah, it was okay to say this or to approach it like that, but there are changes that happen in a person, in a relationship. So don't be so, I don't want to say arrogant, or maybe that's the best word. Don't feel like, oh, I don't need that because I already know. Well, everyone already knew. And then a lot of times they end up in mediation, or,
So
you
true.
know,
And the bottom line is that we change. We change, we change, we change. We are not the same couple that we were at year 1 or year 4 or year 10, at year 15. We're very different. And
yesterday. No, I'm playing.
right. Hey, there's nuances to our communication that have changed over time as well. How we communicate now is infinitely much better than how we communicated 5 years ago.
Definitely.
But I also believe that 5 years from now, we still have room for improvement when it comes to our communication.
Always.
The goal is to always improve in that. This will help you. But here's the thing. When it comes back to our temperature check, we always talk about checking in. And there's data that actually supports that. The Gottman Institute, and I keep going back to the Gottman Institute because they're the foremost authority in relationships in the entire world. When every news organization refers to the Gottman Institute or talks to them about John and Julie Gottman and the research that they've actually done, and we have Psychology Today referencing their work. When you have all these different journals that are using them and their research as the pinnacle of how you should act. That's why we rely so heavily on a lot of their research that we have access to. But one of the things they talk about is that couples that are good and stable over a long period of time, not only do they check in, but they've set their thermostats to be able to detect when there's a little bit of negativity, right? So when they notice that there's a little bit of coldness coming into the room, or a little bit of, the heat is rising a little bit, they purposefully get out of their comfort zone because they're comfortable right where they're at. Like, whatever's going on is going on. I'm going to handle this. I'm going to do what I do. But the moment they notice that there's a temperature shift, they get into the uncomfortable zone and say, hey, what's going on? Knowing you might be putting yourself in the line of fire, but they check in and say, okay, hey, something's going on, and I want to just kind of figure it out real quick before it gets out of hand. Data also shows that couples that do what you were talking about. Oh, I got it. Oh, you know what? No worries. This will blow over, what have you. Those are the ones where it begins to fester and grow because you decide to stay in your comfort zone. I don't even feel like hearing her mouth right now. I'm look, whatever it is, yes. Whatever you're about to ask me, the answer is yes. Do whatever you want to do. Whatever. I just don't feel like I don't want to turn the channel. I don't want to take my attention from this football game or
whatever it is.
Whatever it may be. It could be work, could be a variety of different things. But that's because you want to stay in your zone. You don't want to get uncomfortable. When you do that, you're putting yourself at risk. You're putting your relationship at risk. You're putting your future at risk.
Yeah, but then you're also setting, like, going back to what you said, you're setting that tempo or that threshold as just the norm. So you'll always be like, she's always like that, or he's always like that. And then the other person be like, he don't care anyway. So on one hand, I'll have a always like that. On the other hand, I'll have a they don't care anyway. So I feel like when you have those things, then that's when the distance starts growing in between, in between you two, because you don't want to hear my mouth, and I feel like you don't even care anyway. So I'm just gonna do me, and you do you, and as long as these bills are paid, and that's kind of the tempo that the relationship will take, and it'll continue on that for years to come. And before you know it, you're like, we're just really roommates at this point right now.
Yep. It's the absolute truth. Look, y'all, and you're asking yourself, okay, so if we get to the point where we recognize this and we want to set this, how do we actually do this? Look, when the temperature in your relationship, it's going to give you like 2 or 3 points. When the temperature in your relationship is uncomfortable, that is the cue.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. And discomfort doesn't have to be like, a major 10-degree swing. I noticed the difference in my house because we normally have it set at 78. I notice it when all of a sudden it's 79. When it hits 1 degree of difference,
that's true.
I'm walking around like, good Lord, it's hot up in here. Mm-hmm. I know it. And if you think about that degree change, look, what's the difference between 211 degrees
and 212? 212 is boiling. 211 is just hot.
Yep. 211, you got hot water. 212 degrees, that 1 degree of difference is now you got boiling water. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference that makes in our relationship as well. That 1 degree difference can be everything. Mm-hmm. So the moment you feel a shift, got a little colder, got a little bit warmer, and you know what that means, right? When we talk about colder, warmer, we're talking about relational temperatures. Mm-hmm. Not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the way I'm looking at it, cold is you're just totally icing me out. That's when the Stonewall comes up, and you don't want it. You're just icing me out. When it's too hot, you're overcritical. You're going in at every turn. So
exactly,
you can look at it like that.
So the first step is just be in tune. The second thing is talk to each other, discuss these cues. Like once you determine, like, okay, this is it. Our temperature is 68 to 78, whatever it may be for your relationship in your household. Discuss what does that look like. Mm-hmm. So, right, step 2 is, number 1, again, recapping. Number 1 is be open to understanding and having a discussion the moment you feel a temperature shift. Second thing is have a discussion about what does it feel like? What does a good temperature look like? What does that feel like? How are we operating when things are good, right? So if that temperature, if we're in that zone, what does that feel like? So that means that, okay, well, we're talking to each other. We're laughing with each other. We're open to touching each other. We're making time for each other. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. Mm-hmm. I feel happy. I feel open. I feel like I can come to you with anything. There's an air of honesty. That's the second step, right?
Yeah. So I was just thinking though, some other things. You are okay with being vulnerable. I'm not afraid to be transparent and say, this is what's bothering me. We have to remember there's always going to be an element of truth, not even an element. I'm sorry. You just have to be truthful. We need to be honest, but I have to, and in that honesty, I feel like comes with trusting your partner. Can I trust that when I bare my soul, or when I tell you what is going on with me, you're going to listen to what I'm saying and not totally just blow me off. Because that does happen sometimes. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you what's wrong. And then I start talking, and I'm not saying you and I, but
Right.
I'm just saying this kind of thing does happen. I'm going to say what's going on or how I'm feeling. And the response that I get is, oh, you're tripping. You're overreacting. You're blah, blah, blah. So now you just made it to where it's not safe for me to come to you and be open and be honest. So I'm like, okay, I'll remember that. I will never ever
Ever.
be open and talk. So now my threshold is that, oh, I can't talk to him, and I'm going to operate in the way that I was already operating. So just saying, always remember to be open and to be honest, be transparent, and really listen.
And that's how your relationship gets hot. You have a hot relationship.
The good hot.
Right? Honest, open, and transparent. But look, and then number 3 is there's a ratio that we want you to remember. And keep this ratio in mind. It's what we call the magic 5-to-1 ratio. That means that there should be 5 positive interactions to 1 negative occurrence. So think of that. So something negative happens. Argument. I can't even think of what's a good one. What have we argued about recently? So I can't even think of it. And something may have happened, but I think we're very intent on making sure that we really intentionally seek out and focus on the positive things that are happening in our lives, right? To really focus on those things that we're grateful for. We pray together every morning. We say our marriage mantra every single day, every single morning. We've even got Isaiah saying it, or at least holding our hands while we say it together in the morning.
He's incorporating us praying with him, because he's hold hands. And when he says hold hands, we know what that means. And it can happen at any time of the day. Sorry. It can happen at any time of the day. We have to stop what we're doing. We hold hands. We know that means pray. He closes his eyes and he's listening. And we say what we're going to say, and we say, amen. He says, amen. And he gets a big kick out of whenever we say, pray for Isaiah. We pray for Isaiah. He hears his name. He just lights up. And so he likes that. So
sure. Well, he's enjoying what we've modeled, and he's actually taking a very active participation in it as well.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's that 5-to-1 ratio. Before we even leave the house, we have 3 positive interactions before either of us even leave the house.
Go somewhere. Mm-hmm.
And then so we're kind of stacking the deck, so to speak, in our favor before we even leave the house. And then there's things that happen throughout the day. We might text each other. We might call each other, I love you. Hey, and just having positive interactions. And then there might be something negative that pops up. It's like, you know what? He didn't do this. That fool, da, 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 da. But then by the time you get home,
that fool.
I do. And then but by the time you get home, it's negated because there have been so many positive interactions. Like right now, I know that something negative must have happened, but we just can't think of it.
I just thought of it right now.
Oh,
I forgot to pay the car insurance. Not insurance, I'm sorry. The registration.
Yes, you did. Ooh, that was a negative because I came at her kind of foul.
It's like, yeah, he did.
I did. I own it. I came at her kind of foul, and I felt it like even as it was slipping out of my mouth, like we should probably say this differently. And I'm like jumping out the plane without a parachute.
And I responded
by not throwing the parachute out after.
Very, very maturely. I was very mature in my response.
She was cold. Fine, you do it then.
I did say that, but that was me being mature.
But you know what? It's so funny that now that you see how long it took us to even think of something. This happened yesterday. But we stacked the deck. So it's that magic 5-to-1 ratio. So again, step 1, have a discussion about of recognizing. No, I'm sorry. Step 1 is recognize. The moment there's a temperature shift, be aware. Mm-hmm. Step 2, make sure that in the good times that you're talking about, what does it feel like to be in this good time? What is our good zone? What is that temperature zone where we feel comfortable and we want to operate within? Right. And the moment you shift out of that, you got to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, step 3, Or 2.5 is to be honest.
Be honest.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So you had 2A, 2B, right? And then you have the 5-to-1 ratio.
Mm.
Be aware of that 5-to-1 ratio. Make sure you're stacking the deck in your favor by being gracious, having gratitude, being very intentional about being positive.
Mm.
And you need to do that. And it becomes a habit after a while. But the purpose in doing that is because when the negativity comes, and it will come, because just because we're growing as individuals doesn't negate our humanness.
Mm.
We will get caught up in our emotion and say things that we didn't mean to say, or we know better than saying, like yesterday when I kind of came out of foul about this one bill not being paid. And these other things will glean over that.
Mm.
Again, we just gave you an example. We just lived out an example of how we couldn't remember at first, and then she thought it up, and we're laughing about it now. And that was less than 24 hours ago.
Yeah, literally.
And so those are the 3 things we're going to ask you to continue to move forward with when it comes to getting out of your comfort zone to maintain your comfort zone. So that's kind of a weird statement, but getting out of your comfort zone in order to maintain the comfort zone of your relationship.
That's good. I like it.
You like that?
I mean, that makes sense, even though you say it's kind of weird, but no, it's like, oh, it does.
Okay. I think that's what we're going to call the podcast or this particular episode.
Comfort zone?
Get out of your comfort zone to get in your comfort zone.
Get out to get in.
Get out, get in. Anyway, look, we appreciate each and every one of you. Please do us a favor. Go invite a friend to listen to the podcast. Go over to the YouTube channel and watch the podcast if you want to see our facial expressions and her looking at me all crazy and stuff all the time, and vice versa. It happens.
Anyway.
Every now and then she'll say something out of pocket. No, it's usually me.
Like,
it's usually me. Look, we enjoy you. And until the next time,
be blessed.
Bye.
Bye-bye.